at Journey Chick on Instagram. Let me move this closer for people so they can hear. How is everybody today? Welcome to another episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. Don't forget to beat up on the like button. Yes, today he's going to help my son, if he shows up, put together my desk and chair. And please consider subscribing and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. You never know when I'm going to go live. Yeah, because sometimes I just do it on a whim. Yeah, coffee time. This is how I get my stretches in the morning. Coffee. Yeah, that's it. That's my stretch. So, it's hump day. I just realized, oh my God, it's Wednesday. So tonight is Craft With Me Wednesday. And on my channel, The Crafty Heifer, if she's, I have to check and see if she's alive. I know she wasn't feeling well. So I'm going to check, see how she's doing. If she's up to it, she'll join me. She's my collab partner for the cross stitch along, the temperature cross stitch along. And I am up to date. Woohoo! I don't know how many times I'm going to be able to say that this year, but I'm keeping up with it. I did not do yesterday. No, because I was listening to the testimony of Theodore Edgecomb, and just when it came to an end, I had that, yesterday's book, and I thought, we'll do that tomorrow. Okay. So tune in tonight, please. If you are crocheting, if you are cross stitching along with us and doing a temperature project, please post it in the Crafting Journey Facebook group so I can show it off to everybody tonight. Yeah. Now, this bookshelf thing is quite easy. Thank God. Compared to last year's crochet, last year, the blanket thing, I just went way, above and beyond. That's me, Rebecca, above and beyond. Yeah, took on way too much. So which notebook is which? Okay, this is work. This is Crafting and Crime. Yeah, so tune in for that tonight. That is at 6 Central Time, 6 to 7, unless, maybe we'll run a little later. Maybe it'll be 6:30. Depending on, if Crafty Heifer can make it. Sometimes she gets out of work late, and, so I try to accommodate her. So it could be 6, it could be 6:30, which is why you need to ring the notification bell so you know when I go live. Yeah. Man, I am talking a mile a minute. So, not getting my hopes up here, but I texted my son, and he said he's off today. And yes, he would come put the table and chair together. Fingers crossed. Whatever I gotta do, smokes, whatever, voodoo, something to get him over here. So, how Google Photos, I don't know if you guys do it, but my Google Photos will say, here, look, see what happened 4 years ago today, or 3 years ago, or 1 year ago. I'm like, oh, okay. So yesterday, it was 1 year ago, or maybe it was the day before, and it was a picture of a squirrel. Remember, it was Squirrel Appreciation Day, and I took a picture of these wood squirrels that hang around my house. I haven't seen them lately. I think they've gone away for the winter. But anyway, and then today, it was 4 years ago today, and I took pictures of Tootsie when she's a puppy. You have to see. I'll put a picture here. She's so gosh darn cute. Then I saw a clip from my niece's wedding, the Zoom wedding that I missed. Oh my God. She had an outdoor wedding. I think I mentioned this, but I hadn't seen any clips from the wedding. So it was just a short clip of the flower girls walking down the aisle. But they were playing the Twilight music from the Breaking Dawn Part 1 wedding. And I was like, oh, what? Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how perfect. So clearly she was trying to, recreate that scene in the park. And I thought, oh my God, how beautiful. And she did a good job of it. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see the whole thing. Anyway, I digress. The kitties are being the kitties. I had to go take the trash out this morning. And of course, Pearl escaped out the door. This is her new thing. She likes to get out the door, and she is fast. So I had to go after her. And it's funny because she'll just go from one door, she'll go around the house to the front door. Okay, is that the route? So I pick her up and I bring her back. And as I didn't realize I'd left the door open, and I look in the doorway, and there's Stitch and Tootsie going, looking at me like, can we come out? Can we? I'm like, no, get back in the house. So they went back in the house. Wow, I need some coffee. Slow down, Rebecca. Slow down. Yeah. Let's get the journal out. Let's get the journal out. Do 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 do. Okay. So what is going on in my world? Not much. I gotta tell you, not much. I did see, this is a Happy Planner journal. And yesterday I saw that they were having like a secret 70% off thing. I didn't even go look. I'm like, nope, I cannot look. No. That's too dangerous. Nope, not gonna do it. So I still haven't decorated this week. I think that's kind of a sign of how last week went. No decorations. Yeah. So yesterday was Tuesday. So tonight was going to be the temperature cross stitch along. Cross stitch. And if you're not participating, go ahead and come by and let's just chit chat. I mean, you know, it's okay. Just come in, see what we're doing, have a look, you know, just, it's our opportunity to get together on Wednesday nights and talk about crafts. Not, you know, not anything else. Just what are we working on? Yeah, this gigantic diamond painting. This is the other half. I'm not even halfway. Oh my God. And we've got less than a month to go. But the requirement was that if you're working on a large painting like this and you're participating in the Ticket to Ride event, 50%. If you get 50% done, we are good with that. Yeah. Today is National Bookshelfie Day, which is so perfect for my temperature cross stitch along because I'm doing a bookshelf. And I've almost got the first shelf done. Each shelf, there's 12 shelves. Each shelf is a month of books, and each book is a temperature on a particular day. I'm doing the high temperatures this year. Last year I did the lows. So this is the day where like everybody has a system for organizing their books. Mine is they're just stuffed on the top of a closet. I don't have that many books anymore. After I discovered Nook, I stopped collecting books. They just gather dust. Now, don't tell my sister that, the former librarian. She'd cringe. She has a lot of books that she loves. I don't know if she brought them all with her or she was able to. Yeah. But so this is why they call it National Bookshelfie. So you could take a selfie of your bookshelf, however you've got it arranged alphabetically, if you've got pictures, if you've decorated your shelf. Take a picture of it and put it on social media. # National Shelfie Day. Library Shelfie Day. Okay, let me get it right. Is that the right hashtag? Okay, hold on. Share it on social media. # Library Shelfie Day. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put my cross-stitch bookshelf. Yeah. Anyway, so Library Shelfie Day. That's very clever. And then for history, we're going to talk about what happened in 2020, just 2 short years ago. Yeah. So that's it. The kitties, I got out a toy they haven't played with in a while, so they are playing with it. That'll keep them occupied for 30 seconds. They're already done playing with it. Not even 30 seconds. Those cats, oh my goodness. So let's talk about what you came here to talk about. Crafting and crime daily. So, yesterday, Theodore Edgecomb took the stand in his own defense and did not help his case one bit. So, this man was so scripted that he couldn't go off the script to save his life. Literally, to save his life. Because he's going to get a life sentence for shooting this Jason Clearman. So, as crazy as it seems, I've got my notes here. And they're extensive. So, they pulled every card trick that they could pull. Like, okay, so it starts out with talking about his family. He's got a fiance. He's got 5 kids. 2 of them are going through milestones, you know, potty training, learning to walk. Okay, which tells me that you potty train around 2 years old. You learn to walk around 1 year old. So he's got some little kids here. But, and we don't even know how many baby mamas. So, yeah. And at the time of the incident, he doesn't want to call it a homicide. He doesn't want to call it a murder. At the time that this occurred, he was living between places. I don't know what that means. Then he talks about how he says, you know, how are you employed? He goes, well, I'm not employed. You know, when COVID happened back at the time of this incident, when COVID happened, I was, you know, laid off, and you know, he starts out by saying, you know, almost all of America was unemployed, which is not true. There was a little bit of an increase in unemployment, but it wasn't the entire country. He made it sound like it was the whole country was unemployed. So I collected unemployment, and then he mentioned, and then they said, well, from what job? And he mentioned some job. I still didn't get what the job was. Then he was talking about how he runs this nonprofit for boys and does all this good work. Then his attorney asked him, so in March of 2020, did something, or during the summer of 2020, did something significant happen that had an effect on your life? Oh, yes, you know, George Floyd. And he mentions George Floyd. I'm like, oh, God, we pulled out the George Floyd card? Really? The BLM, Black Lives Matter card? Okay, so we've got the Black Lives Matter card out. So it was at this point he felt like it was very important to educate his children that we are all more alike than we are different. What? Scripted. I'm going to raise my kids to be caring, kind, have humility, and be genuine people. And carry guns to the restaurant. I don't know. So he continues on. He talks about how he got robbed in 2018. He mentions that, and that had an effect on him. So at that point, he starts carrying a weapon with him, especially he's on his bicycle. It's at night. There's an increase in crime at night, especially on the weekends. So he always carries a gun when he goes out. But he never intended to shoot anybody. Then why are you carrying a gun? Okay. So the bicycle was his main source of transportation. Okay, we kind of got that. Then he had to admit that he was convicted of that he had 3 prior felony convictions, and they didn't go into what it was. I'm sure the defense would do that. that on the day of the event, he was having a very good day. All of his children were visiting him, all 5 kids. How I don't know. I don't know if his girlfriend was watching them while he left this 2-year-old and 1-year-old to go get sushi for his daddy-daughter date with his oldest girl, because he wanted to sit down with her and see how she was doing and check in with her and let her know how important she was to him and blah, blah, blah. And so his attorney asked, what was her name? What's the name of your daughter? And he pauses like deer in the headlights. Can't remember. That's the impression I got. For a long pause. And then he finally comes out with her name, Tyler Grace. But then the tears come. Then he's like, boo-hooing that he still owes her a daddy-daughter date. Oh, this was so scripted, so forced. There were no real tears. It was crazy. So he was on his way to this sushi place. He goes to buy the sushi. He purchases the sushi because it's during the times of COVID. You don't go into the restaurant, you just order it outside. And everybody's outside standing there waiting for his order. And he gets this idea, he's going to go get some frozen yogurt. So he takes off down the street and he gets several blocks down, and then he realizes, how am I going to carry all this? I've got the sushi, I'm not going to be able to carry all this. So he aborts the mission. Those are his words. And he turns around and comes back towards the sushi place. But before he gets to the sushi place, there's this event, and I'm going to try to describe it. It's very confusing. But he heard a horn blowing coming from a vehicle, and he looked up and he saw this car headed right for him, coming from the opposite direction, I think. Anyway, there's 2 vehicles. One was the Clearman vehicle, one was another vehicle, and the Clearman vehicle apparently was in the wrong lane and was getting ready to go head on into this other car coming the opposite direction, who was blowing his horn. So the Clearmans veered off and clipped him on his bicycle, hit his leg, forced him into a parked car. He didn't fall off the park, but it forced him into a parked car. So instead of, so he's still on his bike, so he keeps going. But instead of stopping when he gets to the sushi place, no, he's going to keep going because he wants to see if they have any remorse. He wants to follow them and see if they're going to be remorseful. Do they know that he hit him or they hit him? Okay, so he follows them. When they get to this stoplight, he approaches their vehicle, and he does say, when the event first started, there was some expletives that came from Jason Clearman that included some racial slurs. Later on, when he approaches the vehicle at the stoplight, again with the racial slurs, and that's when he punched him. Then he says, I thought it was over. I get on my bike, I'm going to go. He says, I'm going to get away from the situation. So he takes that right. And he says he's going to go around the block and go back to the sushi place that he passed to chase the Clearmans down. So when he goes around the block, he sees that the Clearmans are following him, and now they're chasing him. And now he has visions of Ahmaud Arbery. So now we're throwing out the Ahmaud Arbery card. So as you recall, Ahmaud Arbery was chased down by some white men and gunned down, and who they were later convicted of his murder. So he's got visions of Ahmaud Arbery. So anyway, so he gets off his bicycle and he goes up these stairs, and then this whole, he says, the guy comes up to him and he's threatening, more racial slurs. I'm going to kill you, racial slur. I'm going to kill you, racial slur. Yeah. So then he lunges forward, so he's in fear for his life. He's imminent danger. So he pulls the gun out, and he says he's got it pointed towards the ground, but then Jason Clearman lunged at him, and he thought he saw something in his hand. He couldn't tell what it was because it was dark, but he thought he saw something in his hand. So all of a sudden, he raised the gun and the gun went off, but he had no intention of shooting him. This gun just went off. So there you go, guys. Problem solved. Edgecomb didn't do it. The gun did it by itself. It just went off. Nobody pulled the trigger. Just, I don't know. So then he was afraid that the cops were going to come beat him up for gunning down a white man. So he flees. Not only does he flee, he goes home. He says he changes his clothes, but surveillance footage shows that he doesn't change his clothes. But they ask him if he hid the bike. No, I didn't hide the bike. So apparently he went back. I don't know what he went back out for. I didn't catch why he went back out. But apparently on his way home, he passed the police station there. So like, why didn't you stop at the police station and turn yourself in and tell them, you know, what you were in fear of and that what had just happened? He's like, oh no, they would have been, you know, no, they would have beaten me up. No, no. In fear of the cops now. Yeah, now he's afraid of the cops. So he ends up, he goes home, changes clothes, gets a backpack, and leaves and goes to a friend's house and then flees the state. About a week later, he flees because he needs to get representation, but he needs funds to do that. But before he fled, the defense attorney brought this out. Listen, you already had 2 attorneys. What did you need to go out of state to hire an attorney for? And he says, well, he was very confused, very confused. Every time the prosecutor asked him a question, his answer was, I was trying to protect myself. It didn't matter what the question was. It was a yes or no question. He would say, I was trying to protect myself. And the judge was like so frustrated. So was the prosecutor. Like, finally, the prosecutor's like, could you just go off script, please? Stop saying what you memorized and just answer my question. It's yeah. Like one point he's saying, did you take the bicycle when you fled and go down the stairs? I was trying to protect myself. Well, which is not answering the question. And this went on like 4 or 5 times with this single question. He says, all I'm asking you is, did you take the bike and go down the stairs? And he'd say, could you repeat that question? Anytime he didn't want to answer a question or was negative, first he'd go on the script. And when that didn't work, he'd say, can you repeat that question? Oh my God. I would have been so frustrated. And I'm sure that prosecutor was beyond frustrated with this guy. I just think he destroyed his own credibility with this nonsense. Can you repeat that question? It's a yes or no question. Did you take the bike and go down the stairs and leave the scene? Yes, I did. There you go. Oh my God, it was so funny. So I'm just checking my notes here. So he leaves the state. He gets between 2 other states, and all of a sudden he decides on a whim, I'm just going to throw this gun in water. Has no explanation for why he thought this mattered at this point. He says, I just didn't want to get caught with a gun because then they'd kill me. Okay. So weird. So weird. And he did turn himself in after the event, after, you know, everything dies down. He said he didn't even know this guy was dead until like the next day. And at which point the police were calling him the Brady Street Killer. So he was not going to go turn himself in because he said he didn't think they would believe his narrative. And that's exactly his words. I didn't think they would believe my narrative. And that's what it is, a narrative, a scripted narrative. So before he spends about a week in town, and he realizes he's very confused because he doesn't realize that the 2 public defenders that are representing him already in criminal cases he could have gone to for representation. Because he's like, I didn't know if they did this kind of criminal law or some other, like he was confused. There were public defenders, and then he finally on redirect, his attorney gets out why he's apprehensive about public defenders. They don't know who you are. Very true. They don't, you know, you're just a number. They're not really going to fight for you. They're, you know, you're just a, you know, all true. So he had gotten quotes anywhere from $50,000 to $140,000 to get an attorney. So he was going to leave and go to Georgia to see his father and try to get money. And his family set up a GoFundMe page for his legal defense, apparently, which was apparently taken down because you're not allowed to start a GoFundMe page for legal representation. So all the money was refunded, but then he was still out traveling around trying to get money for 6 months before he was apprehended in Kentucky and brought back. So crazy, crazy story. I think he ruined his credibility with the jury, with the scripted stuff. Yeah, I didn't buy any of it. I just didn't. The gun went off. I didn't intend for the gun to go off. Then why did you pull the trigger? I don't know. So then their last witness was this doctor who talked about hindsight bias, like how we're in a situation, and he used an example of when you're traveling in a vehicle and, you know, maybe it's snowing and you're sliding on the ice and you hit the brakes and all of a sudden there's a tree in front of you. All you see is that tree. You don't see the 10 cars that passed you. You don't see anybody around you. You're just focused on this tree. So he mentioned that, you know, in hindsight, things could have looked one way, but were actually another way. And I mean, it made sense, but I didn't listen to it well enough to repeat it to you guys. I'm so sorry. But anyway, he's trying to get the jury to convince them that what they saw on that video 700 times is not really what they saw, and that they weren't in the place of the defendant, you know, who thought he was in imminent danger, and all he was focused on was this man lunging towards him. So the case will go to the jury this morning. The jury instructions will be read to the jury. They will hear closing arguments, and then it should go to the jury around lunchtime. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring you the verdict. It's very difficult to get live footage from these courtrooms right now because Law and Crime has pulled their feed. So I will try. If I can find a live feed for the verdict, I will bring it to you live. But my son called during the taping of this video today, and he is on his way. Yay! He's in his vehicle, driving towards here right now to put my desk together. I am so excited. So, what happened this day in history? Yeah, well, Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash. He was with his 13-year-old daughter. So the helicopter crashes in foggy conditions. And apparently this pilot was may not have been trained to fly based on instruments only. So everybody on the helicopter perished. Him, his 13-year-old daughter, his assistant coach. There were several people on this helicopter headed for his daughter Gianna's basketball game. So very, very sad. We lost a sports legend, Kobe Bryant. That's what happened this day in history. Guys, I hope to see you tonight on Craft With Me Wednesday. Yes, don't forget to post a picture of your progress in the temperature cross stitch along in the Crafting Journey Facebook group. And don't forget to continue with the Ticket to Ride. Yes, more to come. Tomorrow night, Cheryl Katz, my co-host, will be live on Facebook with Wilson 3D Designs, Pam Wilson and her husband Steve. Yeah, and they've got some special news for you guys, something we've come up with this week, or Cheryl has been working with the Wilsons to come up with something very unique. You're not going to want to miss it. So take care, everybody. I love you. Bye.